Thank you very much. It was a very amusing time and very nice. So I think that it is time for the open discussion. We have invited different experts to this open discussion. So I think we can start now. I ask some of the people that we are going to speak directly on the stage, if possible. And Giulio Ecchia, yes, you can come here. And let me just Biorcati, Ferruccio, and Alda Salomone, yes. Nicoletta Modio is here. Nicoletta? No, still not yet here. Antonio Zinilli. And we have, no, stop. Sveva Balduini. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, we can start with this open discussion, and the very point at stake here is what is, in your opinion, the real value added that the FOSS project can have on a socioeconomic research, and in general on the ability of this project to provide support for decision makers in the next future when the project will get into a more sustainable phase. The first person that we have invited to speak is Sonia Stefanizzi from the University of Milano Bicocca. She's a very known sociologist and is a representative of the S3 node and also of the Italian node of CESDA. So Sonia is online, so she should speak directly on his microphone, and we should be able to hear her.
Yes. Thank you,
yes.
Giovanni. Sorry, but I'm going to
Sonia,
speak in
just
Italian.
1 second, because we cannot hear very well. And Sonia will speak in Italian because she has prepared this. But can you?
Can you hear me?
No, not very well. It's a very, very, very low.
Now?
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Sorry.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Ok, io parlo in italiano non perché voglio, diciamo, previncerismo, ma perché appunto immaginavo come lo scorso anno che la presentazione fosse in italiano e quindi all'ultimo momento ho visto che era in inglese, ma lo switch diventa un pochino faticoso. Allora, dunque, quello che volevo mettere in luce parlando diciamo del progetto FOSSR, soprattutto partendo dall'esperienza della nostra infrastruttura di ricerca CESDA, è una serie diciamo di sfide che ho individuato, quindi diciamo non di critiche, di sfide, di punti di attenzione su cui riflettere. Allora, la prima diciamo sfida che si trova ad avere questo progetto è quella che possiamo legare diciamo più al discorso di formazione e competenze tecniche, perché come è noto con diciamo la crescente datificazione della società contemporanea, grazie anche come sappiamo allo sviluppo delle tecnologie digitali, quindi anche alla diffusione dei big data, sappiamo che si sta verificando un cambiamento radicale nel modo in cui noi facciamo ricerca, quindi anche di come produciamo conoscenza scientifica. E quindi diciamo l'evoluzione delle tecnologie per l'analisi dei dati e quindi anche l'incremento dell'accesso ai dati aperti di cui il progetto FOSSR ne è la testimonianza diretta, secondo me mette in evidenza ancora di più la necessità di sviluppare maggiori competenze tecniche tra i ricercatori. Perché diciamo, gli strumenti open source potenti e versatili che sono messi a disposizione da questo progetto, però molto spesso richiedono delle conoscenze tecniche specifiche per essere utilizzati direttamente. Per essere utilizzati, direi, soprattutto in modo corretto, come per esempio penso alla programmazione in linguaggi particolari come Python, oppure anche bisogna avere delle competenze per quanto riguarda la gestione di grandi dataset. E io direi che molti ricercatori nell'ambito delle scienze sociali in realtà, soprattutto nel contesto italiano, non hanno una formazione tecnica sufficiente per sfruttare appieno questi strumenti. Quindi una possibile, diciamo, punto di riflessione è quella che forse la disponibilità di questi strumenti open source non garantisce automaticamente nella comunità scientifica il loro utilizzo. Quindi per promuovere davvero l'adozione su larga scala di queste potenzialità, di questi strumenti, forse il progetto forse dovrebbe investire, a mio avviso, maggiormente nella formazione e nel supporto tecnico per i ricercatori, attraverso, diciamo, tutorial, workshop pratici, corsi. Solo così forse possiamo colmare il divario che esiste tra l'offerta di strumenti sempre più potenti e la capacità poi di usarli, a mio avviso, in modo efficace. Un altro aspetto che è collegato a questo, io credo che sia proprio una sorta di resistenza culturale che esiste alla condivisione aperta dei dati. Allora, nonostante direi che il beneficio dell'accesso aperto è veramente un beneficio straordinario, però esiste a mio avviso ancora una forte resistenza culturale alla condivisione dei dati e anche dei risultati di ricerca. Molti ricercatori ancora nell'ambito delle scienze sociali, ma anche in altre discipline, sono riluttanti a condividere liberamente i propri dati per vari motivi, forse anche per timore che questi dati vengano utilizzati in modo improprio oppure che possano compromettere i propri progetti futuri. Quindi io credo che forse questo progetto dovrebbe affrontare questo problema, diciamo, di promuovere, di resistenza culturale, di promuovere maggiormente una cultura aperta, non soltanto fornendo incentivi pratici attraverso, come sta facendo, la messa a disposizione di potente strumentazione, ma anche proprio cercando di promuovere un cambiamento culturale più ampio che incoraggi la condivisione e la collaborazione. Proprio io credo che sia necessario promuovere una mentalità in cui il valore della ricerca non risieda soltanto nella produzione di dati originali, ma anche nel contribuire alla comunità scientifica attraverso la condivisione dei dati e dei metodi. Un altro punto, vado veloce, che vedo come sfida, è l'adattamento delle tecnologie che sono presenti in questo progetto, che vengono promosse in questo progetto, alle metodologie qualitative. Perché un'altra sfida, diciamo, che bisogna affrontare è il carattere qualitativo di molte ricerche sociali. Mentre il software open source eccelle nell'analisi quantitativa dei dati, l'applicazione di questi potenti strumenti che si stanno sviluppando in questo progetto, però non sono, diciamo, propriamente legate alla ricerca qualitativa. Quindi forse una riflessione potrebbe essere quella anche di ampliare la sua gamma di strumenti per includere opzioni più adeguate all'analisi qualitativa, come diciamo per esempio potrebbe essere l'anonimizzazione di dati qualitativi oppure software per la codifica di dati non strutturati. E questo forse può contribuire a garantire che i ricercatori qualitativi possano beneficiare delle stesse opportunità offerte ai ricercatori quantitativi, nella visione di un progetto il più inclusivo possibile. L'altro aspetto, e mi avvio poi alla conclusione, che vedo come sfida è la, chiamiamola così, l'interoperabilità tra infrastrutture. Cioè, ovvero il problema di far interagire piattaforme, infrastrutture che hanno mission diverse nel progetto, come porto il caso della nostra infrastruttura di SESDA, no? SESDA noi sappiamo che nasce prima come archivio dati e poi successivamente si trasforma in infrastruttura. Però a differenza di molte altre infrastrutture che sono presenti nel nostro dominio, SESDA non fa ricerca, sappiamo che non fa ricerca, offre servizi come per esempio uno dei più importanti servizi è la data curation. Però ancora oggi io credo che nei ricercatori non sia chiaro quale sia il ruolo di SESDA e si fa fatica a dialogare, noi facciamo fatica a dialogare con altre infrastrutture. E questa difficoltà io la vedo anche in questo progetto FOSSR, perché spesso nei discorsi che vengono fatti all'interno del progetto viene emersa un po' l'idea di implementare un sistema per il deposito di dati creati nello stesso progetto, ma se è così ancora non abbiamo capito qual è la mission di SESDA e qual è il ruolo. Quindi questo per dire che il FOSSR si trova a operare in un ecosistema complesso in cui esistono numerose altre piattaforme europee e globali per la scienza aperta. Tuttavia forse bisognerebbe anche, come dire, lavorare per incrementare, diciamo, il dialogo, la predisposizione di standard comuni, proprio per non limitare l'efficacia di questo progetto. Quindi lavorare soprattutto in standard di interoperabilità. Come diciamo prospettive, altre prospettive future di questo progetto che io auspico, che vedo, ma se miei sono solo suggerimenti, è quello forse vedo di guardare al futuro rafforzando l'interdisciplinarietà, perché le scienze sociali noi sappiamo che sono sempre più chiamate a confrontarsi con campi interdisciplinari diversi, come quelli per esempio delle scienze dure o le scienze della vita. FOSSR potrebbe posizionarsi, a mio avviso, come un'infrastruttura che promuove collaborazioni interdisciplinari, creando ponti tra le scienze sociali e altre discipline. Ad esempio, lo sviluppo di strumenti open source per l'analisi dei dati di social media o per l'integrazione di modelli di machine learning nell'analisi sociologica potrebbe anche spingere la ricerca verso nuovi campi disciplinari. Un ultimo aspetto che io vedo, poi termino il mio intervento, che comunque era previsto limitato nell'esposizione, è quello che è legato un po' all'integrazione di approcci partecipativi. Allora, un altro sviluppo che io vedo promettente in questo progetto potrebbe essere l'integrazione di strumenti che facilitano la partecipazione dei cittadini alla ricerca sociale. L'idea di una scienza partecipativa o citizen science noi sappiamo che è sempre più popolare e forse potrebbe porsi l'ambizione di diventare una piattaforma che permetta a ricercatori ma anche a cittadini di collaborare alla raccolta e all'analisi dei dati. E questo io credo che sia un elemento importante perché può rafforzare il legame tra scienza e società e anche aumentare la rilevanza sociale di questo progetto. Quindi queste sono diciamo, un po' le mie riflessioni, credo di essere stata nei tempi, però poi sono disponibile per eventuali repliche. Grazie.
Thank you, Sonia. Very, very kind and very, interesting. I'm going to invite the second speaker, Professor Guglielmo Weber from the University of Padua, which is a representative for the Italian node of SHARE. Guglielmo.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Okay, good.
You can hear me and maybe you can see me. I have no idea.
Yes,
so
yes.
As you said, I'm responsible for the survey on health, aging and retirement in Europe, which is a survey which has been running since 2004, following the same individuals, and the population of interest is 50 plus. It is a survey which is within the social sciences, but it is interdisciplinary because it has elements of which have to do with health, and of course that includes that involves some medical expert and some medical measures. SHARE is an interesting example of the things which FOSSR is fostering, because it is an international, multinational survey run in 28 countries and related to other surveys which are run in the US, in China, in India, in Japan, in South Korea, South Africa and Mexico. So it's a worldwide effort to understand the process and these challenges of population aging, looking at the 50 plus population by using probabilistic samples. But SHARE gets very well along within the scope of FOSSR, because within FOSSR and within our package 4, we're planning to start or to constitute a life course observatory, which will therefore include young people, very young people, like we hear about guide, and it could also mature, middle-aged, mature people, which is going to be the focus on the GGS. And this, therefore, will be able to bring together 3 different surveys, which will constitute a life course observatory, and that are specific, very interesting for anyone who's interested to their life course. But at the same time, they have a specific angle, which is the international angle, which that implies that when I look at the aging process, and particularly, for instance, at the needs of the older population, I can study the effects of policies by comparing across countries over time, which is something which, of course, provides me with effectively what is a quasi-experimental laboratory for social sciences. And this part of FOSSR, which is very important, is something which FOSSR has helped a lot to construct, because FOSSR within core package 4 has helped get a refreshment sample, including also people who live in Italy but are not Italians. It's going to help guide to do, and Giulia will talk about that, doing pilot study, and it's going to help GGS do a full data collection. And so the idea that together with YOP, which is very important, and together with other data sources, share and the other 2 surveys which will constitute the life course observatory are a value added to FOSSR. And then the question, what is the real value, is clear. What is the real challenge, also clear? Sustainability. Sustainability is going to be a major challenge. All this data collection, data cleaning, data dissemination with fair principle costs money, and this money has to be found. And partly this will be done by offering services to research community by YOP, but partly will have to be found elsewhere. And so this is a great challenge. But let me point out to you that all this the life course observatory is going to be extremely useful for policymakers, for charities, and for part of the industry. So this particularly external users, who, on top of researchers, of course, are going to be potentially contributors to this data collection purpose effort, and would therefore hopefully help with the sustainability challenge. Thank you very much. I think I stayed exactly within 5 minutes.
Thank you, Guillermo. Yes, the sustainability step is really central, as you said. So I invite Antonio, who's responsible for the Italian node of RISIS.
Yeah, thank you, Giovanni. Yes, I will speak 2 minutes because I spoke before, so I prefer to give the floor to the other colleagues. But only two words about the RISIS and the importance of FOSSR for RISIS and vice versa. So 2 words about RISIS for those who are not familiar with this important infrastructure in Europe on science, technology, and innovation policy studies. Involves several partners from different countries. So we have universities, research council, and other organizations. The FOSSR and RISIS are 2 important project infrastructure for several reasons, mainly because both projects share core values and practices. Let me highlight the open science principles for both projects, FOSSR and RISIS. and the capacity for both projects for improving research practices in the case of RISIS in social science and innovation policy studies. So this is an important aspect that I want to highlights. Then another aspect that is important in FOSS for social sciences is the role of interdisciplinarity that Sonia Stefanizzi mentioned before. So you know that this is the future. We have to collaborate. We have used other approach to respond to social and economic issues. Another important aspect that I want to give an importance in this sense is the community that we are building with FOSSR. This is an important aspect for Italy and the future. In the future, I would like to systematize some aspect with the other colleagues in the other countries. So to create a bridge with the other colleagues on a specific aspects in the social sciences, in science, technology, and innovation studies. So another important, the last point that I want to say is the importance of training and formation, the funding on masters, PhDs. This is and the other courses we are organizing are very important for the community to generate to create a new generation of researchers and for improving the ability of conduct innovative and high quality research. So this is an important project for RISIS, and I hope that in the future will be able to address important societal challenges. So thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. It was very clear. And I invite Giulio Ecchia from the University of Bologna, who is going to represent here GUIDE.
Thank you, Giovanni, and thank you for all of you to be here. I'm the coordinator of the Bologna team, who is managing the node, the Italian node of GUIDE. I want to repeat the name because it's important for us to understand what are we talking about. We are within the FOSS project, and we thank the National Research Council for the opportunity to be here and to participate in this important project. But GUIDE is also, as the other infrastructure, a European infrastructure. GUIDE means growing up in digital Europe. Growing up because we study, now we are in the preliminary phase of this research infrastructure. We want to study comparatively various aspects of the youth and childhood of people in Europe, children and young people in Europe. Because growing up, not only in Europe, is difficult. We are in the period after COVID and other crises. And despite of the fact that many international countries, in many countries have already individual national studies of panel longitudinal data, we don't have in Europe and in the world a comparative study of that. In order to create data for the research community, especially for policymakers, to look in a forward way for forward-looking policy in social sciences related to the youth and young people. I'm an economist, and I'm not as expert as many of you here, but in economics, as you all know, the first part of life has become more and more important in terms as a determinant for the future achievement of people. And this is still understudied in many disciplines, also in economics. So as Guglielmo mentioned before, I think we all remember the famous phrase from the cradle to the grave, which was the foundation of the welfare state after World War II. That was the foundation, but in research we are lagging behind. We don't have data to study that comparatively, and that is the importance of the idea of life course observatory, which is happening in France, thanks to European money, as in Italy, and we hope, as Guglielmo mentioned, and all the colleagues here have stated in different ways, we'll be able to do it also in Italy. Given the amount of time we have, I don't want to be long, but I want to stress another element which I think is very important for our perspective of a guide, which I repeat, in Italy is now running a pilot study, thanks to the National Research Council. At the European level, we are in a preliminary stage of our S3 route or S3 roadmap. The point I want to stress, which I think is very important, and actually captured my interest also as a researcher, is the fact that we want to give voice to children and young people. There are no research surveys at the moment which give voice to the children. They give voice to families, parents, grandparents, whatever. But children do not have a voice. I think this is a very important message after COVID and for the future, not only for demographic issues, which we all know are part of our problems, but for the issue of having a democratic society where young people have a voice in their future. Thank you.
Thank you, Giulia. Thank you, Giulia. It was very nice. Yes, I totally agree with you. Who is not agreeing with this? I think it's very, very important. So now I'm going to ask for Nicolò Marchesini to intervene, speaking about the GGS, which is another important infrastructure that will be part of FOSSR. I don't know whether Nicolò is here already. Nicolò, can you hear me?
Yes, Giovanni. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear.
Brilliant.
We can hear you as well. Okay.
Thank you. Apologies for not being physically with you in Rome today. I'm representing the joint group Siena and Bocconi University, working on GGS, Generation and Gender Study. Actually, GGS is focusing on family dynamics and the evolution of family formation and transition to adulthood. As already mentioned by Professor Ecchia and Weber, it's actually quite an important part of policy project and policy impact in Italy, but not only in Italy. The fertility decline we are experiencing currently is actually jeopardizing our welfare system, our productive system. So it's crucial to understand what is the process and the obstacle along the way to create a family, to having children, and what are the challenges for individuals in it. The importance of GGS is that it's a panel, so we can follow individuals across years, and it's unique compared to what we have currently in Italy, and it's comparative. So as already mentioned, we got the opportunity to compare situation and challenges among different countries in Europe and beyond, actually, in order to try to find out potential policies about fertility decline, and family conditions. So I think that for FOSSR, GGS can be quite an asset in order to contribute in defining and designing specific policies for Italy at a local level, national level, and European level, jointly with the other infrastructure and organization working within GGS. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolò. Thank you very much. So the next speaker will be Ferruccio Bioccati, who is going to speak about from the University of Milan and is going to speak about the IOP and how it is integrated.
Okay, thank you and good morning to everybody. As was already said, I'm Ferruccio Bioccati Rinaldi. I'm a professor of sociology at the University of Milan, and together with my colleagues Cristiano Vezzoni and Francesco Piacentini, we are collaborating to the probability panel project and with CNR. Let me mention also another CAP that could be relevant for the things that I would like to go back, because also I am the National Program Director for Italy of the European Value Study and the chair of the scientific committee of the same social science research infrastructure. And if I refer to FOSSR, I have a couple of expectations that I think they are quite relevant. The first one is I think that the expectation that I have to the project is to fill a gap that we have in social science in Italy, that is the gap of research infrastructure. Because if we look at the history of research infrastructure in Italy, if we look at the participation of Italy to many of these research infrastructure, we know that there was not a systematic effort in participating to this enterprise, and most was left to the contribution of single university of research center that in some cases like we have mentioned already, share, but also VS, we were able to have Italy fully participating to all the waves, but in other case it was not the final result. So it's very important, I think, for us as a place to organize the effort to participate to the European scenario. The other thing that other expectation that I have is that FOSSR will put Italy at the center of the development of survey research. Here we know that we have a lot of challenges. We are facing decreasing response rate. We are facing increasing cost of data collection. We are facing the innovation and technological change, and we are facing them with some solution. And one of the solutions that we have in Europe is the probability panel. And it's very important, I think, that FOSSR also has this project inside. And the project is important. The probability panel project is also important from the kind of issues that we are dealing with, because we have already seen that we have a very relevant stream of research on demographic and the structural aspect of Italian societies, and the probability panel will be able to integrate with other behavioral aspects, but also with research on attitudes and values, and also with research about more general public opinion. The two expectations that I mentioned here, I think that it goes together, because for sure the probability panel can be a vector of for the participation of Italy to the European survey social research infrastructures, but also is very important for the amount of data that we are able to provide, that we will be able to provide to the national, international scientific community, and not only the amount of data, but also the quality of this data that is very, very relevant. And the overall enterprise is very important, I think, because what we are already seeing is that we are able to increase the standard of survey research in Italy and spreading competences. And let me say that is something that we already see as a result if we look at the group of young scholars contributing to this research effort. That is really, their contribution is really impressive. And so I think that, as Guglielmo has already mentioned, let's say the key word now is sustainability from this point of view, and sustainability in order to fully participate to the European scenario of social science research, and this is very important for Italy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferruccio, for your speech. And then I'm going to ask for Alda Anna Maria Salomone from ISTAT. And we are very, very interested in what you're going to say, because ISTAT is a very important partner for us. And so.
Thank you for the presentation. And ISTAT is in charge of the official statistics. And there is a lot of years and a lot of experience on social science. But now we know that we have to enhance official statistics also with the new challenge that are arising from the social. And not only this, when we speak about social science, is not only the society, but is environment, climate, and so on. All that there's an impact on the society. One of the first, the idea is that we have to produce official statistics, but we have to combine the general methods and standards that we pursue with smart surveys, because we have a changement so spready that we have to produce data timely and all times changing the point of view. And the other point is the private and citizen data, because it's not easy to arrive to, but we have to combine to arrive to the individual, but without to create more problem for him to answer and to protect him also with privacy. This is the idea that we have to evolve our research and to create data availability and transparency and collaboration and cross-disciplinary research. Not easy all times, because with the data protection, privacy protection, we had a lot of problems also in Italy, sometimes more than when we can think. But what that I want to propose, and we believe a lot in FOSSR, and what we propose also is to work in 2 points. The first one is the open data. The open data is that we post the base of fair data is normal, but we are working also with other National Statistical Institute about SNET project, working on artificial intelligence put to the data, not only to create, to use, to generate. So I speak also about synthetic, but also to editing and consistent check with EA. And the other one is the dissemination, because we don't stop only on production, but we want to arrive all times to disseminate. Another point, so it's important to have also an open access publishing, a peer review before to arrive to other research. Why I say that? Because we are interested in combining all other kinds of research with official data. So it depends from quality, standards, and all things that a right to accurate statistics. The other one is the infrastructure, and I think that you have more experience in it. But for example, we have all the database, and we can also help with the collaborative platform when you want. Another point is the panel that we are very interested in. The probability and the most standard. The idea is that FOSSR has to have right to 10 years. And one of the solutions as we propose is to enter with this panel in the National Statistical Program, because it creates the local, the house where it is more possible to exchange also data with the limit of guarantee, with privacy, and so on. So we propose you to work together if you want, also like Aristotle, but to put it in your system. But it's important to enter also in the national program, statistical program. At the end, we want to enhance research quality, and we think that is very important for us to ask also to FOSSR, and we work together when you want. Increase efficiency and timely, because we need it for official statistics, and I think that is also a good scenario to change, to enlarge the global collaboration. We have all the link with the European National Statistical Institute, and above all, democratizing knowledge. It means that each part have to put together all the competencies for outside, for new generation. All people talk about it. Is a problem of data privacy, a problem of culture, as you said, but also is a problem of funding, because it's not important, but there is a problem of funding and management. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alda. Your speech is very comforting us because it's really nice and good, and I think we have a space, a room for collaborations in the future, and your idea to get into the National Statistical Plan would be very interesting for us. So we will discuss about that, because I think it's a very value added for the entire project to be inside this umbrella. It's absolutely good. Thank you very much for this. Okay, now I'm going to invite Sveva Balduini, and she is the Italian coordinator for the European Social Survey, and from INAP. Okay, Sveva, please.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody, and I would like first of all to thank the National Research Council and the colleagues for asking me to join this initiative and inviting me today to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm aware that I'm the last obstacle between you and the lunch break, so I will try to be as quick as possible. Okay. Anyway, as Giovanni said, I'm the national coordinator in Italy for a European research infrastructure, the European Social Survey, which is carried out in over 30 countries within Europe, but also outside the European Union on a biannual basis. And we are just in the way to end up one of the rounds, and will provide by the end of the year the results of a questionnaire on attitudes, opinions, and behaviors of people resident in the European Union on several social aspects. I was at a conference a few days ago, and one of the speakers astonished me with a very impressive image of where the society is today. He just showed a picture of people on a boat rafting along a river. So we are the society today is in this situation with rapid changes going on. And the challenge is not just simply to adjust the sails to a different wind to achieve the harbor, but is really to be able to find quick solutions for the problems. We know that the society today is put under a very high pressure due to the rising costs of pensions, to the aging of population, to the skills mismatch and labor shortage, to the need for upskilling and reskilling, and the increasing poverty. So this situation requires an immediate action and the design of targeted policies to support this action. And these policies need to be designed with an approach evidence-based. So that is the importance of data, which I want to highlight, and the role that data can have to support the policy design and redesign of policies. And so we have a huge asset here that can be useful. And for me, which my experience is more not of an academic researcher, but of a researcher working with applied research, basically. The main challenge, I would not add aspects that have already been highlighted by the colleagues and that I strongly share, the issue of cross functioning, of integration of platforms, the need for resources and sustainability across time. I share these views and I would not add. What I want to focus on is the issue of impact. It was one of the words that some of the colleagues in the video mentioned, producing impact, because we have a huge asset of data, but what for? The issue and the challenge, I think, also for FOSSR is enhancing all the activities that are aimed at producing an impact of this data. So an effective use of this data within, of course, the academic community, but I would say also and above all, outside the scientific community, on stakeholders, because there is a strong need to impact, to enhance the impact of our activities on decision makers. And we have to work on this because, I mean, the experience is that there is an increased knowledge and sharing of data within the scientific community, but a very little use of this data by decision makers at the moment when they have to design policies or redesign policies. And this is something that needs to be done. A colleague mentioned the need to involve citizens and to have a participative approach to research by the involvement of citizens. I would add by also the involvement of stakeholders, and not at the very end of the project or all along the project by disseminating its result, but really in its constant and daily implementation, because otherwise there is no chance that the huge asset that has been created is really used for changing our society. And that's the key message I wanted to deliver. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sveva. And I mean, your last point is a very, very relevant. So I completely agree with you. And my idea would be that the success of this project would be its usability of course, for users, researchers, but also the ability of this project to become relevant for taking policy decisions and support the policy decisions. And this is a big challenge. It's not easy, but it is something that we hope to deliver with all the effort we are putting in action. Okay, now we can go a little ahead, and I'm going to, oh, sorry, again. I'm going to ask Nicoletta, to invite Nicoletta. So Nicoletta Modio from Confindustria. And just let me say that we met 20 years ago when I was very young here, and yeah, I was for my first months at the CNR, and we were together in a project about evaluating research instrument for companies in Italy, the FAR. So I'm a little emotion to see you, and so it's a.
So the first positive thing is that you didn't run away after. It's a good thing. No, I'm very happy to be here. It's something that we have been discussing for many years with Emanuela and the CNR, and I'm happy to follow the previous speech, because the emphasis that you put on stakeholders, I think that's it's a key point. No, we are. I am an external point of view. Now we are. I am in charge of research and innovation in Confindustria, so we are looking for data every day, and Giulio Perani and the colleagues of ISTAT know it very well. We are looking for data. And why we are looking for data? Because data are necessary to understand what is going on, to evaluate what we are trying to do, what industries are doing, societies doing, research centers are doing. So the evaluation, impact evaluation, that it's completely absent in this country. No, we just so one example, we are talking about, again, another time, how to reformulate the measures that support economic investment of enterprises. And we are doing it only looking at how much they cost. There is no evaluation of the impact of these measures. And the impact is not only an economic impact, it's a cultural impact, a societal impact, it's a complex impact. So this is what we need in the country. That's why we talk a lot about it with Emanuela. So we need to have data that should be updated data, because we cannot evaluate something on data that are back to 2 years ago. It's impossible, because in 2 years the world is changing, the society is changing, maybe the boat is going on a rock in 2 years. So it's not possible to work with data that are not updated, and this is something that we have to work on. Another thing that we have to work on, the way we collect data. I look only on, I'm thinking of research and innovation. We have to involve the stakeholders in the collection of data. No, you know that in Italy, and ISTAT knows it very well. There was a time when the enterprises didn't communicate the research and innovation that they did to ISTAT, because it was not, they could choose to do it or not. So they didn't communicate. They didn't expose the research and innovation in their budget. So there was no way to understand what was going on. So we have to work together on the collection of data. And to do this, we have to decide what are the data that we need. So we have to do this, we have to have in mind the questions. Why we need this data, what data we need, how do we can collect the data from the stakeholders, and how can we elaborate the data? And another point that I would underline is how we communicate the result of the analysis of data, because it is something that should not be for researchers. For we know we have to explain things to people that are not researchers, that they need this data to decide what to do. So this is a very key point. So to have data that should be updated, wide, validated, so we cannot have data that are not controlled in any, and we have to put together data. No, that was why we are interested in this project, and this is something that we have been talking for a long time. We have to put together the databases. Now, ISTAT is the first one. ISTAT. So if you start from ISTAT, you get on Oxen, you get on Eurostat, you get on everyone that is working on data. If there is something wrong at the basis of the data, it is something wrong everywhere. So we need to do this. We need to work on to analyze the impact. For example, we on research and innovation, it's not, we should understand how research and innovation gives, what are the results of this in competitiveness, in jobs, in profile of researchers, of workers, on taxes. How many taxes we pay if we, so this is a very complex. So we are very interested in this project. We think that it should be the way to put together many other bases of data that should be open and user-friendly, that should be possible to use this data for at different levels. No, the researchers will use it in a way, and the not researcher will use it in another way. And the important thing is what is the questions that we start from. What we want to understand with this data. So I am just an observer. We will go on following this project and doing whatever we can to help it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicoletta. Your point of view is very welcome, and I agree with you. I think that we have a great need for streamlining the collection of data and making it possible to have updated data and data that can speak about the present, not about the past. So I think that, for example, our panels have exactly this idea. For example, the ORP for research, and it's very important because this panel is going to have an immediate view about what's going on with PhD holders and what is their situation in the job market. And this can be also useful for companies to know what's going on in the system. What is the aspirations of these individuals? What is their working conditions, and so on. So I think that this is it meets what you were saying before. Okay, the very last speaker is Massimo Giannarelli, the co-founder and the senior partner of FutureBerry Corporation Benefit. So he is online, and Massimo, are you able to connect? I don't know. I can see him. He's present, but maybe is not connected now. I don't know. Ah, is there? Okay. Yes. Massimo, can you hear me? Probably is not there. Okay. I think that we can pick up some questions from the audience, and in the meantime, and if you have some questions also for our speakers, I think it's time to do it. And or just if you want to provide some comments or ideas or critiques, whatever you want, but it's the time to do that. Anyone has the courage to start? Oh, Emanuela, yes. Please, Emanuela is wants to. Ah, okay, is here. Okay, Massimo. We cannot hear very well. Maybe it's a technical problem that we're going to solve. Can you? Oh, no. We cannot hear him. Okay. Massimo, can you hear me? Yes. Do you have the mic, the microphone turned on, or? We cannot hear you.
Now it's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and now it's okay. Now it's okay. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Okay, Massimo, can you present yourself to the audience, and then thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the delay, and apologize for not being in Rome today. Anyway, my role is, as my colleague said before, a consultant. I'm working for enterprise here in Milan, and I am also professor in the Strategic and Service Design Master Program in Poly Design. My short message as a member of the Strategic Committee of the FOSSR is giving an advice about the proceedings, especially for services that the FOSSR could provide to different users of the platforms. As a professor and as a consultant and also a father, I'm looking at a lot of transformation about the world of data, the world of searching data, the world of searching information, not only for policy makers or industry strategists in the firm, but also for people like students, like at the university or high school, and we are assisting at a dramatic transformation in searching data. And what is really important from my point of view in working in the strategic committee for FOSSR is looking at the design-driven platform of FOSSR, which means focus on personal profiles that could address to FOSSR. For example, it's different for policymakers going to the FOSSR because he needs relevant data for making a decision at a government or administrative level. But anywhere, if you want really a democratic access to information and data, probably also students and also people from different organizations needs to have information that could be critical for his stage of life, for his level of decisions. This is important because from an academic point of view, from a research point of view, we need to be very conscious about data, the way we collect data, the institution that refers data to the FOSSR. But from a user point of view, it's most important to have the right information. From this point of view, the future of research and education is dramatically changing with the development of artificial intelligence tools. This means, for example, just to my observation point of view, is that my students during my lessons are going to prompt in the ChatGPT to make a new presentation, to afford cases, studies, or something else. So it's important for me, in the view of FOSSR development, to have also these types of services, offers to the people, offers to the persons that want to address the service of FOSSR. The personalization and timeliness of information represent a source of a competitive advantage for any platform in the future. even if, even more, they are based on a large and certified knowledge basis. From this point of view, FOSSR has an enormous potential advantage, because as the system and as the program is conceived, the institution that refers data and were gathered in the FOSSR have an impact, a positive impact for the decision at every level. So at this moment, I think that one of the focus for the present and for the future of FOSSR, even if you know, the fund from European and from our government will go to a different level from now, has to find a way to make a level of, I can say, profits not, but you know, in money from different level of users and from different level of people that want to address the service of FOSSR. So at this moment, my focus is on this, and I hope that the next level of progress in FOSSR platform could be in this way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Massimo, for your speech. Unfortunately, we are short of time, so we had to go to the lunch now. So there's no time for questions or whatever. Sorry. I think we can have informal speeches during the lunch, and I think we can take advantage of it. And now it's also important to rest a little and be a little more informal. Okay. So see you at the lunch. Yes. Oh, we are going to catch up here at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. On time, because the afternoon session will be about the demos. So we are going to show how demonstrators work. So it's very important for understanding the real usefulness of this platform. Okay, we are going to continue this day. I want to say that FOSSR is not just a science, technology, data. FOSSR is also management, because it's extremely important that we are able to manage, to direct, to steer in a proper way a project of such complexity. And we are lucky because we have a great infrastructure manager who is Marco Sprocati, the engineer Marco Sprocati, who is going to moderate this session, chairing this session. So thank you, Marco, and you can start by presenting the session about the demos.
Thank you so much, Giovanni. Good afternoon to all the audience and also the people connected online, because I think that there are many. My main task in the FOSSR is sustainability and strategy of the project. It's a very critical aspect, because you know, the resources are very difficult for the project, for the research project. So I think that all the people involved in our stakeholder advisory board are interested in continuing course of the project. And this is my main task. We have made just 1 week ago a first draft of the budget. And so we hope that this kind of work to find funding will be very easy in the future. So I think that probably this is the main objective and the main result of the project. Okay, by the way, what is the program of this afternoon? The program includes the presentation of 3 demos of the FOSSR services. We want to illustrate some of the results of the project. In reality, there are many other services that are developing from the group of FOSSR. But in this case, we want to show the 3 demo more in the good point of the development. In particular, the 3 demos are knowledge graph presented by Andrea Giovanni Nuzzolese of CNR ISTC, also WP5 leader, together with Rocco Paolillo of CNR IRPPS. And the second policy learning platform by our scientific coordinator Giovanni Cerulli. And the last one, PoolPo platform by Giulia Andrighetto and Eva Vriens of CNR ISTC. Very important platform too. And at the end of these 3 presentations, we have organized 3 discussions, 2 online. I hope that they are connected, and I will check at the end of the presentations. They are Venera Tomaselli, Associate Professor in Social Statistics, Department of Economics and Business, University of Catania, and she is also member of our Strategic Management Committee. Leonardo Alcaro, Technical Project Manager, Dipartimento per la Trasformazione Digitale, member of our Stakeholder Advisory Board, and Luca Crocioni, in presence, Delivery Manager, Hybrid IT Application Workload, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and also him is a member of our Stakeholder Advisory Board. I think that we can start immediately with the first demo service. So I don't see Andrea. Okay, I look in that part, but okay.
Try to share my screen.
Okay.
From Teams.
Non lo so come si fa. Aspetta, no?
Okay, this morning I introduce you the core activities that we are carrying out in the FOSS project for data analysis, and now we are back to check in practice how ontogenia and the framework that I introduced this morning can support researcher for data analysis. And we start from a use case that we are dealing with currently in the project, that is gathering knowledge from a data set, a specific data set that is the data set on PhD thesis that encompass the time frame from spanning from 1985 to nowadays. So the idea is, okay, how to use the system, how to use ontogenia for generating knowledge graphs from raw data sets. There are some steps that I will go through. I don't describe the steps now, I just go through and I explain what I'm doing and what the system is doing under the hood. So this is obviously a collaborative work, a joint work with all the colleagues that are parts of our team. So we start the demo, and the first thing that this interface asks to the user, just a quick note, the interface interacts by means of natural language with a large language model that performs the actions and the operations. So for demo purposes, I just providing you with an interface that summarizes some of the key objects that are requested for the interaction. The first step is to provide a data set. So, and so we can pick a data set. I'll show you what the data set is about in a while. So I provided a data set, and I can provide a main topic that I think the data set is about. I would say, okay, cytometrics. Okay, and I can pick one of the two large language models that we have currently configured for working with the system. We can pick Llama 3. Once we click on Go, what is done is that the system asks to clean the original dataset and to generate a new dataset that is cleaned and, let's say, meaningful for the end user, but also for applications that are going to deal with the dataset. So, for instance, here we are prompted with the original dataset, so the one that I provided as input, which is to a certain extent completely meaningless. First of all, the header has a number of columns that, to my understanding, add no value to the analysis. If we go inside the cells, there are a lot of information. We don't know what is exactly the relation with columns. We don't know if there are errors in terms of semantics. So if a certain column is always used for providing certain kind of information, it can be the case that for other rows, the same column, the same cell is not coherent with the rest of the data set. So the first step is to clean and pre-process the data in order to make the same data set much more readable and usable. In this interface below, we have the same data set that is refined by ontogenia with the support of Llama 3. First of all, we have the header with column names that are meaningful. This was generated by interacting with the large language model again, asking it to enrich and metadating, let's say, the data set. And we have for each of the column, meaningful values. So, for instance, this is the identifier of the thesis, the year in which the thesis was discussed or defended, the language of the thesis, the title, the author, the contributors, the PhD cycle, and so on. So we also have a relevant field that is for some of them where we are able to generate these, the scientific field class according to the Italian Ministry of Education, and also a human readable label for the same class. So what we can do now, okay, I want to use this cleansed data set for the next step, that in our case is trying to understand what kind of questions I can ask to this data set in order to get knowledge. So if I have a data set and I want to perform a certain kind of data analysis, I would like to have a given questions that my data set can answer to. So yeah, the next step is exactly the generation of competency questions that in the field of knowledge and engineering are user-oriented interrogatives or questions that allows us to scope our data set. So to identify what are what are the boundaries in terms of objectives and kind of functionalities that the data set provides in terms of goals. So here I can provide additional information, maybe a sort of abstract that the system can use for understanding much more the kind of context. I will just write here a simple sentence. So this data set contains information about Italian PhD thesis. Then I can I can check, either keep my previous choice or switch to another large language model. If I keep a Llama 3 and I click on generate those competency questions, that there are a list of questions that the system thinks that the data sets can provide an answer to. These questions are utmost important because they allow us to derive a formal representation of the schema that is associated with the data. A formal schema can be then converted to logical and symbolic knowledge by means of an ontology that, again, is generated by providing the questions and a bit of context that is, under the hood to the system, to ontogenia. When I go to generate ontology, the system thinks about how to, provide a schema. And for this demo, we are just providing a graphical representation of what the data set is about. So for the end user, we started from a dirty data set that was much more meaningless. Now we have a conceptual map about the data set in which we have the key concept and the relations with other concepts in the dataset. So the dataset is about PhD theses that were contributed by a university, was authored by a given person. The student is another person, and was carried out in a department of a given university. So this is more or less the raw schema that the system generated. Of course, we can refine the schema by interacting with the system. For the demo purposes, I go straight with the first answer that the system provides to me. A side note, all the actions that I'm presenting to you can be interacted with by means of APIs. So we can write applications that performs the same actions. So if we go below, we can, now I want to populate my knowledge graph that is compliant with the schema starting from the original data. And we can do this by means of a standard by the W3C that is a declarative mapping language that allows us to write mapping rules from an original data set to a target form, which is RDF in our case, so the knowledge graph. We have here, just for presentation purposes, the syntax, so the RML, which is this language for representing declarative mappings. It's a sort of, it is Turtle, this kind of syntax, it is RDF. The key point is that we can use this language, these rules, for generating a new data set that is much richer than the original one, and also much richer than the clean set one. So if I execute these rules, I have a new knowledge graph that I can query by means of Sparkle. That was the language that Mario Ciampi was mentioning at the beginning. That is the language for querying the data on the cloud and interacting with the data, which is the data in this case are fully compliant with FAIR principle by design. So in this case, I'm asking I would like to ask now I can perform a query with a standard language, which is called Sparkle. I can query the data and I can get answers. I can get result sets directly from the data. I can show you. So in this case, I can execute the query. I'm asking all the persons that are available in the data sets. And as a result set, I have the full list of people that are available. A side note, then now they are not anymore strings. They are URIs, they are references to web resources that I can access to get rich knowledge from them. So I just pick one. I am redirected to an HTML view over the knowledge graph. In this case, I am browsing a specific person, that is this Guadalupe Masi Francesca. I have few information about the person, like the name, the fact that this kind of entity is a person in my ontology, and it is the author of a given thesis, which is another resource that has additional information. Now, all the information are structured, but structured according to a given vocabulary, which is our ontology. So everything is represented in a symbolic way. Everything was generated by a sub-symbolic system. What's next? We can ask the system to go ahead and enrich our data with additional knowledge gathered from external data sources. In our case, for the demo, we are linking all the entities that we are able to against Scopus. If we enrich data, I am prompted with a different query editor. The query is exactly the same. So if I ask to retrieve data, all the persons that are available in my knowledge graph, I have here the same list as before, but if I pick the same person, for instance, the kind of view that I have over the same person is much richer than before, just because all the information, this was the previous one. So I just knew the full name of the person and its type and the thesis he authored, or she authored in this case, while now, by linking my knowledge graph with existing external knowledge graphs in the semantic web, I was able to enrich much more my knowledge graph with, for instance, the family name, the given name, links with other external data sets. I know the affiliation. So this person is working at the University of Venice. He knows who is her co-authors. So I am able to have a rich network of co-authorship that I can use for scientometric purposes, for instance. But much more, I have, let's say, as author, okay, creator of. I also gathered all the publication from Scopus of this author. So, for instance, I can. So this kind of knowledge was not available before in my knowledge graph. Now it is, by means of linking my knowledge graph with another knowledge graph. And this was completely done by Ontogenia, interacting with a large language model in behind. So here we have a scientific article that was published by the same author. So we started from raw data that was dirty and very poor, and we get a structured, well-formed, rich knowledge graph that can be queried, and it is published on the web. Then what can I do with this knowledge graph? And I think that Rocco is going to show how rich knowledge graphs can be applied to other kind of data analysis problems.
Thank you, Andrea. The very emotion for me is see something in reality, like a demo. Very, very interesting. Okay, I call Rocco Paolillo for the second presentation about ontogenia. The floor is yours.
Yes, but
okay.
Okay. So thank you for coming. My name is Rocco, and I work at our PPS. I work in agent-based modeling, social simulations, and in work package 5, I'm mainly interested in integration methods, data and methods. In particular, here I'm presenting how we are linking ontologies with agent-based modeling. So first of all, can you hear me? Yes. First of all, what is agent-based modeling? Is a methodology that allows you to study what are those complex emergent phenomena, like for instance, opinion polarization or segregation, network formation, where you need to study the interaction between human beings, and we do this by mimicking human characteristics in simulation of virtual agents. Why the integration with ontologies can be useful? Because we can derive deep knowledge about the environment these people live in, the information these people need to interact with the environment, and the interoperability of data. It is knowledge, the main component of interest here. And so, as Andrea has demonstrated, we can extract complete knowledge of and complex knowledge from data. The question is here now, how can we apply a knowledge graph to the studying of interaction of human beings and complex behavior? What we do in our work is linking ontologies with the behavior of agents. how we do this through this protocol where we identify the beliefs, the desires, and intentions of agents. And in particular, I don't know why it's not alienated. What we want to do is using this data set on PhDs that we have from FOSSR and study to the context of application of academic mobility. We have all this information about PhDs, about their co-authorship in particular. How can we use them for studying what could be the possible strategies, what could be the possible mechanisms of selection of university, of selection of a strategy of co-authorship, and what consequences can have in academic mobility and the centrality of universities and networks. So what we do is identifying about modeling some younger scholars who do have to select one or either university for their academic career. And what we impose is the intention to succeed in one field, how try to co-author with other people who are top authors in the field. What we do is extending. This software was developed by University of Catania. Particularly I thank Fabio Longo of ISTC for the collaboration, where we do have an ontology. From the ontology, we derive the possible inferences based on what are the triggering event here, meaning the aim, the goal we go for. So in this case, I want to publish. I need to identify what are the possible paths of co-authorship and identify someone to propose a co-authorship with within the whole academic landscape. So what we did was to translate this theoretical model within this triplet of ontology. This is theoretical model, toy model now for verification demonstration. And we do have these two newcomers, Mandy and Stefano. They have been selected by these two universities. Their goal is to find the co-authors in artificial intelligence, but no one who is top author in artificial intelligence is at the two universities they have been selected for. So now they have to identify one strategy plan that can favor them. What is the degree of separation? So finding someone who can introduce them to someone who is a top author in the field of interest. So here is the demonstration, how we initialize it first. We upload it, so the ontology which has been imposed, and we have a this network is a knowledge graph. So the representation of the knowledge graph. And so it is forming all the possible relations, who is top author who, with whom, who is top author in the field, and who is co-author with. This is the knowledge graph. So basically it shows the relation between agents and what is their type of relationships that they do have. And then we impose what's the strategy for the two agents. So the desire is to reach aim for the artificial intelligence. What this model then does is this. It goes through all elements of this knowledge graph and identifies who has a connection with whom. So to say, okay, there is this person, like here, for instance, Esther at Alma Mater Bologna, who is co-author with Miesel, who is a top author in the field of artificial intelligence. And it derives then a conclusion for the two agents. So, for instance, Mandy should accept the offer from University of Messina because she has more possibilities to find someone who can introduce to someone in artificial intelligence. For Stefano, who has been selected from University of Turin and Bologna, the choice should be Bologna. Yes. But what happens now that the agent, in this case, Stefano and Mandy, has made a choice to go for the university, which is the best option for them, for their goal. And the consequence would be a change in the same knowledge graph, meaning we have integrated the consequences of behavior within what was the, it's called the system, the condition quo, which is the possible path of academic mobility that are enacted from that moment. Sorry. Here, for instance, we have new affiliations that we can add to the path of the academic networks that we have been studying. So this is basically what happens in the model, in inference, and the change in the system, meaning the different paths that we can observe, or at least in this case infer, to the academic network, academic landscape, sorry. So this is what we have been working on recently. Now we have two paths. On one side, of course, identify some mechanisms, some aspects in theory, in particular from literature in academic mobility, that can generate hypotheses we want to test, or any mechanisms that we want then one day when we will have the data set to compare with the empirical evidence. And the other side, to facilitate what one day will be the integration of ontologies from a platform, or better a cloud, as FOSSR, be able to extract the knowledge graph. So extract this knowledge graph, extract a remote Spark remote initialization of data. So to be able one day that people can use this type of software to make inferences from available data based on what is their topic of interest and what is their question, their decision process. So thank you. This is from my side.
Thank you so much, Rocco. Now we pass from ontogenia to policy. Okay, policy learning platform to our scientific coordinator. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Farei. Dove l'hai messo? Che porti?
Siamo al secondo.
Ok. Allora di.
Okay, it's better if you can start. Yes, I'm going to.
Dammi la via email.
Okay, don't worry. As I said, Alessandra Stilo is our direct. No, questi sono i file miei. Okay. We pass now to virtual laboratories with Giulia Andrighetto, the leader of this platform, and after Eva Vriens.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Marco. And hi to everyone. My name is Giulia Andrighetto, and I'm going to present in collaboration with Eva Vriens the PoolPo platform, the main aims of this platform, and then Eva will provide a short demo of it. So PoolPo stands for Pool as a subject pool and Po population. So the aim is that of having a platform with a large subject pool that is populated by a large part of the Italian population. So hopefully that can be representative of the Italian population. And the aim, so this the PoolPo platform is a platform that wants to put in contact, to connect different experimental labs in Italy. And the idea is especially labs that conduct experimental research. And the aim is that of creating a large subject pool that researchers from the Italian departments can contact and use for their own experiments and surveys. So why do we need an online platform like PoolPo? So nowadays, the use of experiments is becoming more and more popular in the social sciences domain, because this method complements very well other methods like surveys and observational studies. And with experiments, you can assess causality. So typically what you do with experiments, you create an environment that has the main features of the phenomenon that you want to represent, and then you put subjects, participants in this environment, and you observe their decisions. That's the idea. And then you can, why it's important? Because sometimes just asking through surveys what they think about a certain topic maybe is not very effective, because they cannot be completely honest, or maybe then they don't know why they're acting in the way in which they act. That's why experiments can be important. And through experiments, you can also manipulate the context, and then you can see whether through these manipulations you observe a change in behavior. So you can assess causality. That's why those experiments are so interesting. They're interesting, but they're also difficult. They are difficult because, especially for lab experiments, you need to have enough subjects. So you need to have a large number of subjects that are willing to participate to your experiments. And sometimes, and especially in Italy, labs typically have about 500, 1,000 subjects that maybe are not enough to conduct your own experiments. And another difficulty is that you also need to keep these subject pool active. It costs a lot. It's very costly for laboratories to keep the subject pool active. And also you want also to have a different type of participants. So you want to have some diversity. And this is not easy. This is why PoolPo, the PoolPo platform, can be helpful, because we want to create this large subject pool of participants that can be used by researchers to participate in their own experiments. So the aim of PoolPo is that of creating an Italian network of online laboratories for conducting surveys and also behavioral experiments. Behavioral experiments that can be conducted both online and on site. This is important. So you can recruit subjects that want to participate online, but also offline, that are willing to go in the physical labs. And this is for conducting experimental studies, facilitating both basic research, but also applied research in the social sciences. Because something that I didn't mention before is that through experiments, you can assess causality, but you can also test interventions. So you can have this environment that is a controlled environment in which you can test the effect of interventions. And those that are effective, then you can also suggest to policymakers to be used in the field. That's why this platform is important both for basic and applied research. And the primary goal of this platform is to connect researchers with participants. And the idea is that of having a large subject pool, ideally about between 5,000 and 80,000 subjects, so a very large subject pool, that will give access to a rapid, reliable, and large-scale data collection of what? Of citizens' opinions, attitudes, preferences, social norms, and behavior. So it's not just opinions, not just preferences, but also information about behavior that can well complement the information that is also collected in the FOSS platform. Then it's very helpful to disseminate behavioral interventions, as I said before. And the idea is that of having a large base of volunteers that is recruited nationwide. And this is just a screenshot of how the PoolPo platform looks like when you want to log in. And then Eva is going to walk you through this platform more in detail. So it's a joint project, because at the very beginning of the project, we realized that when we were contacting other researchers interested in this topic in Italy, that there was a very similar project in another, in the Vriens extended partnership. So we decided to collaborate. So FOSSR is collaborated with Vriens, and in particular with Maria Bigoni, we are collaborating for developing the PoolPo platform. We have an agreement between the two institutions, between the two projects for collaboration and also for sharing then the titularity of the platform and of the data. And the developers of this platform are Indici Opponibili, that is doing a fantastic job in helping us developing the platform. So the state of the art, PoolPo is not the first platform doing, helping and supporting with recruitment of subjects. Prolific is a very well-known platform, is a UK-based platform that started 10 years ago. And this platform facilitated research in the social sciences a lot. So now it's possible to conduct online experiments very quickly to pay subjects. There are more than 200,000 subjects. So it's a great platform, but it doesn't allow to recruit subjects for on-site studies. So you cannot recruit subjects through Prolific and ask them to go in a particular lab to conduct, to participate in your experiment. And sometimes you want to have on-site experiments because maybe they are long, they are complex experiments, so you want to have an on-site experiment. And this is a feature that PoolPo has. And it doesn't allow, Prolific doesn't allow researchers to know which other studies the participants have previously taken part in, while PoolPo will make possible also to have information about different choices that the same participant has taken in different tasks, in different games. There are also other platforms like the SONA system platform, the Play Study platform. Again, they provide the infrastructure, but they don't provide the subject pool. So again, this is why PoolPo is so important. And then also at the national level, we don't have anything like PoolPo in Italy. So why a nationwide subject pool? As I was mentioning before, to run large-scale experiments, you need a large subject pool and also a national subject coming from different regions. And typically, most labs in Italy now have about 500, 700 active participants. There are not many. Then it's possible, then with a nationwide subject pool, it's possible to run experiment with participants from different regions. You can imagine that you have a task in which subjects from different regions play a cooperative task, and then you can see how subjects from, I don't know, Liguria and Lazio, how they behave when they are asked to cooperate or to compete. Then you can also use fresh participants, because if you have a large subject pool, then you have fresh participants that can participate in follow-up experiments. What is very important of this infrastructure is that you can provide access to participants for researchers and institutions that do not have an experimental lab. It's costly to have an experimental lab, so I think it's very important to share those resources. And also strengthen the connections and collaborations among researchers doing social science research in Italy. The social science community doing experiments is growing also in Italy, and this can work as an accelerator to create and build the community. The experimental, just to give you an idea of the experimental, of the geography of the experimental behavioral labs in Italy, they are mainly based in the north and center of Italy. There are about 10, 12 active labs, but none of them now is based in the south. So what we want to do once PoolPo will be ready is that of asking those labs to share their subjects pool so that they can populate the PoolPo subject pool. And then also we are in contact with departments from the south so that we can also start recruiting subjects from those regions, because it's really important that PoolPo doesn't just contain subjects from center and north of Italy, but also from the south. So there are 4 users that PoolPo users. The first one are the participants. And again, here is a screenshot of what the participants can see when they access to the PoolPo platform. And those are subjects that are invited by researchers to participate in experiments and surveys. They need to be over 18 years old, and they need to have an Italian taxpayer code. Once they access the platform, they need to register to release privacy consent. This is really important to access the platform. And then anytime they will participate to a study, they need to, again, release privacy consent. They are asked to update their social demographic info. They will receive a unique identification code. So we don't have access to the personal information of subjects, but they will have this unique identification code. Then they need to indicate their availability for either on-site or online, or and also they can also give availability for both studies. And if they also give availability for on-site studies, they also need to indicate where they are available to participate. They will receive invitations, they can register for studies, they will receive reminders. What is important is that through this platform, they will accumulate credits, because typically those experiments are paid. And what we want to do is also to be able, through the platform, to convert these credits in cash. This is now not possible because of legal problems. That is not just ours, it's at the national level, but hopefully we will be able to manage this in the future. Second user are the researchers that are researchers from universities and research institutes that are authorized to access the platform. What they can do, they can create their own studies. They can, of course, screen participants based on their social demographics. For example, I just want men or women to participate. I can screen participants. I can invite, I can send invitation. I can monitor the recruitment if I'm a researcher. I can collect data about the participant performance in the study, of course. So they collect and record the information. They can download a summary information on their studies. They have access to a calendar, so they can see also how the other labs are, so whether they are booked or not, whether there is availability or not. And again, here is very important to say that researchers do not have access to the participant's identity, but only to their identification code. And again, hopefully they will be able also to pay participants. The third user are the managers, that are users that typically represent an organization that is partner of PoolPo, and they manage the access of researchers that are affiliated to this organization. Each organization has a number of researchers that can access the platform, and the manager is the one managing those users. What we want to do in the future to sustain the platform is that of having the organizations paying some fee to be to use PoolPo. And in this way, we hope that we can also partially maintain and sustain it. And the last user are the administrators. They are the only one having access to the participant's identity for administrative reasons. They can manage researchers' requests and possibly receipts. They can update and maintain the platform, manage the subject pool, and responsible for data protection. Last slide. We have so the prototype that Eva is going to present was released at the end of September. We hope to have the beta version of the platform ready by the end of this year. We want to start populating the platform at the beginning of 2025 to have on board new labs in 2025, and then also to open the platform to the other departments in Italy in 2026. And this will be the recruitment campaign in which we want to have other labs, but also a more representative sample. And that's all. Thanks a lot. I leave the floor to Eva.
Okay, I will give a very, very brief demo of what the platform looks like for two types of users. The first is the researcher who wants to run an experiment, and the other is the participant who wants to sign up for an experiment. So what you see on the screen is a website. This is the researcher that's logged in. The researcher will have access to all the functions on a website, because the researcher probably has to do more complicated tasks in setting up the study. Whereas on the right side of the screen, you see what the participant sees. And this, even though now I opened it as a website, is designed as an app, because most participants will be using their phones to see what studies they can participate in. So this is starting as a web app that you could then also access online if you would want to. So let's first go to the researcher. I am now logged in as a researcher, and as a researcher, I can go to my experiments. Here I have one experiment that has already been, that's already active, so people are already participating in it. And for today, I want to set up another experiment. To be faster in my demo, I already set up the experiment, but let's say that I would start it from scratch. What I can do here is create my experiment, give it a name, a private name, an internal name that I see myself only, so that I understand what study I'm doing, and then a public name. In this case, I put the same, but here you can say the name that the subjects that want to sign up for your study will see. You give a short description of the study, information to where they can find everything about the privacy and how we store the data, how they can participate, so either mobile, desktop, or both, how many trials they need to participate in, so it can be a multi-trial study as well, and you can give some keywords about the experiment. Then you say here, I mean, now it's very uninformative, but let's say here you give the contact information of the researcher that's conducting the experiment, so that if they have any questions, they can directly contact the researcher. You give information on how much participants will earn if they participate in your study. Usually in these kind of experiments, the amount that you earn depends on the decisions that you and other participants make in the study, because these are interactive experiments. So depending on what I choose and what the other participants choose, I can earn more or less money, which is why we give as an indication, first of all, a show up fee that says, okay, regardless of what you do, just by showing up, we will already pay you €5 in this case. And then you can earn on top of that between 10 and 30 euros, depending on the outcome of the experiment. Then I go to set up the subject pool. As Giulia already said, we can put here all kinds of filters to decide which participants we want to invite for our experiment. In this example, I created a very, very, very specific subject pool where I want to do experiments with people that are married with at least one child for the last 10 years. Let's say that I want to have at least one subject. So the people that I'm interested in for the last 10 years, so I set filters to say that this must have happened between 2014 to 2024. I create conditions also to say that they need to be married. And I create conditions to say that they need to have a number of children larger than 0. So based on this, I can check, okay, how many participants do I have in my subject pool that would fit these criteria? And then from there, I prepare my study. This is basically all the basic details that I can give to my study. In this study, I can then program the different sessions. So for instance, here I have already set up a session that will be on October 31st and one second trial that will be on November 4th. So again, if I want to set this up, I can say the starting time, the end time, up until when people can register for this study, and how many people can sign up at most. And this, most importantly, is the link to the study. In this case, I am preparing to set up an online experiment. So what PoolPo does is set up the entire infrastructure for participating, signing up and participating in experiments. The researcher then provides the link that goes to an external website or platform where the actual experiment is taking place. So once I have done all of that, I can, when I'm ready, I can activate my experiment. So now it goes from draft to actually being posted and being visible to the participants that apply to these criteria. So confirm, and now my experiment status is active, and I can start to wait for people to enroll. Now let's go to the other side. This is the web app of the participant that wants to sign up for experiments. And this participant can see in the app both the experiments that he already signed up for, in this case there are none, and the experiments that they can potentially participate in. So there is this big list of open experiments. And as you can see here, there is the experiment that we just created. So as me as a participant, I can click on this one and see all the information. So what I see here is that this is an online experiment. It has 2 trials that you have that it offers, and you need to participate in at least 1 out of 2 trials. I can register until the 31st, and this is what I would be earning. So if this interests me as a participant, I can sign up for the experiment, and then I have to say which trial that I want to participate in. Let's now select this one. I continue and I confirm. And here you can see all the information related to the trial. So in this case, as soon as the date arrives, I will get here the link to participate in the experiment. And as you can see now, apart from the invitations that are open, I now also have all the information related to the experiment that I already signed up for. As a very final comment, I just wanted to show you the difference. So what you can see participating here is by one color, the green color, you see all the experiments that are running online. The yellow color gives you the experiments that are actually in a physical lab. So in this case, this participant gave his availability for experiments that are in Bologna. So here you can see the difference. This is a physical experiment that will take place in Bologna on this date. I can also sign up for this one. Let's confirm this. And in this case, since it's in an actual lab, and the information that I see, I will also see how to actually get to this lab. Of course, up until the date of the experiment or the date that I indicated, I can also change or decide I'm no longer able to come to the experiment, so I can leave the experiment, so to say. I will leave it here to make place for the last speaker.
Thank you so much, Eva. Very interesting when you see the web app working. So very curious to also use. As I said at the beginning, all the Q&A is at the end of the presentation and 3 discussions after the presentation. Okay, I think that now is the moment of Giovanni. Okay. I invite the discussants online, Professor Venera Tomaselli and Leonardo Alcaro, to be ready at the end of Giovanni. Okay.
I'm ready. Okay.
Hello, Venera. At the end.
Thank you. Thank you, and I'm very...
No. Sorry, Venera, just to be ready at the end of Giovanni. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready now for the demo of the policy learning platform. Unfortunately, I do not have enough time for showing all the characteristics of it. So I'm going just to give you some intuition. I will be quite fast because I think you are fed up of me. But anyway, okay, I don't want to get into this, but what is exactly the PLM? The PLM, the PLP, sorry, it's a web app that is going to carry out optimal policy learning. What are the main inputs that we are going to consider? Basically, past policy rounds for a policy at the micro level. And the main output will be the identification of the policy beneficiaries by maximizing the welfare, the total welfare, the total impact of the policy. So it's really, okay, let me just explain what are the main bases of this platform. First of all, we have 2 big methodologies that are at the basis of the OPL, which is machine learning on the side of prediction and the causal inference for generating counterfactuals. Because whatever action made by individual is based on 2 things: learning and comparing counterfactuals. Even when we behave in the ordinary life, we behave according to counterfactuals. What is going on if I do this, and what is going on if, on the contrary, I'm going to do this? So the main idea is that data-driven decision-making is based on these two things. The optimal policy learning is, in some ways, a frontier of automated data-driven decision-making, and it's based on AI methods. And what is the novelty here is that so far we have been focused on basically ex post program evaluation, for example, to understand the policy effect of an already run policy. But the very news here is that we can also predict the effect of the policy by knowing what's going on, what went on in a previous policy. And so prediction is really central here, and we want to know what is the impact for the society in terms of welfare. Okay, in particular, in this case, we are going to cover an important task, which is the one of finding the optimal beneficiaries of a policy. So imagine that you are a policymaker and you want to run a policy. So the very problem that you have, given your constrained budget, is to decide who are to be treated, who are the individual to become the beneficiaries of your policy, and you would like to picking up them in order to maximize the impact of your policy. This is exactly what policy learning does. And we want to do this completely data-driven, without any other tool than just data and some reasonable assumptions. And this is also called the empirical welfare maximization in the literature. There are several ways to call these kinds of methods. And in this case, what we have is that I'm going to call it optimal policy learning, but basically it's a way to increase the welfare of the population. Well, what is policy? What is a policy here? Policy is a very complex thing. I cannot reduce this just on one dimension. We have Emanuela, so I'm shy to speak about that in front of her because she's an expert of policy. And if I say that policy is just picking up the right individual at the right time, she may say, Giovanni, please stop here. But anyway, I would say that the one important thing, at least of the policy, especially at the micro level, is that given the objective of the policymaker and given the policy action, what is important is to select the right individual at the right time. And this means that we want to maximize the effect of the policy by picking up those that are, more conducive to the effect of the policy. And this is where the ex-ante policy learning meets the ex-post policy learning. What does it mean? It means that generally we have many people here. I see Marco there and many others working on ex-post program evaluation in a very effective way. But my discontent at that time was, okay, it's very nice to understand what the policy did, what was the effect, but so what? We would like to go a little further and to understand how to improve the policy in order to get the larger effect for the society as a whole. So it means that we want to generate in step 7 a learning process from what we have learned from past experience. This is basically machine learning, is improving the future by taking stock of the past in a proper way. So the optimal treatment allocation, Rita, this is your stuff. So the credit is for Rita that is there, and she did these wonderful pictures. It's that we have 2 kinds of approaches that we can follow in this case. A third one about it's still under work, under development, so I don't want to speak about that. But basically, the main idea is that doing a policy means an optimal policy means an optimal treatment. Optimal treatment allocation, as I said, is to picking up those that are more conducive to a larger policy effect and a welfare effect for the society. And the second type is based on optimal treatment type when we have many different decisions to take. Imagine that you are a policymaker and you have to decide among three kinds of a possible action to undertake. So the problem is, given the environment, the signal from the environment, you have to decide whether it's better to carry out action 1, action 2, or action 3. So this is a problem. And so this kind of stuff can solve the problem by supporting decisions, what is called the discrete decisions in this case, only data-driven, in an only data-driven way. So, and we presented this paper in last summer in Portland with Antonio in the STATA conference. We presented one of these applications. But today we are going to speak about the demo of this policy learning model platform. And the idea of the demo is that it will be more or less like this slide. I want to make the point that we do not have the web app available. We conclude the competition. Okay, so we had the winner. We have several bidders. Now we had the winner, and then in a let's say a couple of months. So before around June, we should have the web app ready online for doing that. At the moment, if you want to run this, we have the codes for doing that, and in particular, we have the state implementation is already, online for those who are really, that can use Stata. But for the moment, I just want to give you the intuition of how this web app will function. Okay, at the very beginning, at point 1, you have the user. And the user provides the data. What is the data? The data is a typical rectangular set of information about the ID of the individual. And then you see that we have a T, X, and Y. Why they are written in green? Because they are known. These are the data from a previous round of policy that already have been carried out. So we have these green values that represent exactly the policy, already run policy. And then you have the T representing the treatment or the assignment. And you see, for example, that Mr. 1, 2, 3, and 4 were treated, while Mr. 5, 6, 7, and 8 were untreated. And then you have the characteristics X of this individual, for example, the age. Okay, an age of 4 is not... maybe in guide we can have this kind of age, but anyway, and then you can have the income. Okay, Y is income. Then what we do is to generate a mapping, which is fundamental based on machine learning methods, which is the individual treatment effect. Or say this happens magically, but behind there is a theory about counterfactual methods in machine learning. So the main idea is that we generate a mapping between the characteristics of the individual and its idiosyncratic effect. This can be done with many different machine learning methods, including neural networks, including random forests, and so on. So now it's time for deciding what kind of policy do you want to run. And so the policymaker has to decide whether he wants to run a threshold-based policy, a linear combination, or a decision tree. This seems quite strange, but they are exactly what we use in ordinary life. For example, if you have to decide whether or not an individual, a student, is going to pass an exam, you do not know, maybe isn't for me, but you are using probably a linear combination approach, because what you do is to sum up the oral exam mark and the written exam mark and take the average. And so generally you can use also different weights by, for example, if you want to give more importance to the oral exam instead of the written exam. This is a classical linear combination policy because it's a linear combination of the marks and the weights. So the threshold is very easy. You are going to pass the exam only if you are going to take a mark which is larger than a certain value. So this is exactly what we use every day for decisions. The tree is similar. So once you have decided which kind of a policy do you want to run, according to which typology, okay, we can use the OPL. The OPL algorithms that are, of course, different from the three typologies, but very similar. And you get the predictions about the new population by a OPL prediction. And so you see that now the T star, which is the last column there, is exactly in a new population. You see Mr. 9, Mr. 10, Mr. 11 are part of the new population. So the new guys that may or may not be entitled to be part of the policy. And you see that the T star represents exactly the main output, which is deciding which is going to be treated and which is not going to be treated. Okay, so, and this is done by maximizing the welfare. And the welfare, we assume a welfaristic social welfare function, which means that we are going to adopt the effect of all the treated individuals. So Pareto would be very skeptical about that, you know, because Pareto was against the idea of summing up utilities, but the Pigou, the father of welfare economics, would be very happy. But Pareto was a sociologist and Pigou was an engineer. So that's interesting. Anyway, we are Pigouvian, okay? We are Pigouvian. And finally, what you can see here is that an example that I simulated by taking a true simulated. No, I found using a true policy. And you see, for example, this is a threshold policy. And you see, for example, on the right panel, that you can see that in this policy would be optimal to use 42 as the optimal age threshold for selecting people. In this case, there was a policy about a training, and the effect was the future earnings of an individual. So it means that we can find the optimal threshold that maximizes the effect, that increase at the most the level of welfare impact. So if you're going to use a smaller threshold, let's say 35, you get a smaller welfare. If you're going to use a larger threshold like 50, you get a smaller welfare effect. So the best is 42. So if I have a policymaker and the policymaker asks me, Giovanni, please let me know what would be the best threshold for deciding whether or not to treat an individual here. Well, this OPL, let me say, okay, good at OPL, put the data and come up with this optimal threshold. Okay, in a bivariate case, we have, I get to the end. In the bivariate case, when we have two selection variables, because of course we have to use selection variables for doing that, we have that the decision is in 2 dimensions. So we have to decide, for example, 2 thresholds, one for education, in this case is real earning is 75, and another one for age, but it's pretty the same. Okay, and then finally, what we can do, what is one of the results? This is partly also my contribution to the literature. It's that the main idea is that we can have several problems using this kind of stuff. In particular, 2, the sparseness problem and the monotonicity. I don't have time to speak about this. It's a little technical, but there is a paper speaking about that. The very core of it is that we can explore results around the optimal value. And this can generate different trade-offs. For example, just to give you an idea, one may say, okay, oh, the best would be, I would like to get the largest effect for this policy. Yes, but if you want the largest effect, you have to treat just one guy. The policymaker may say, come on, what are you saying? I have to, it's not a policy, that one. Or I can say, on the contrary, you have to to pick up the entire population. That's not a policy as well, because of course you would like just to have 30% of people, or 40% or 50%. So we can explore that, and there is a trade-off here, because if you are going to change the number of treated, the percentage of people to treat in the population, you are going to change the effect. So you have to pick up the best item within the menu. That's the main idea. Given your constraint, with a budgetary constraint, you have, let's say, some money and you have to spend that. And so you can do that with this model, and you can exactly pick up the best solution. Okay, software implementation. We already have, I cannot speak too much about that, but I have a very strong group behind me. Unfortunately, for many reasons, I cannot speak about that, but next year they will be at the very forefront of what we are going to do. But anyway, we already have this done, technically speaking. So we have this data development, this data implementation. This has been made by myself and is now been accepted 2 days ago in the Data Journal. So I thank the FOSSR and everything. So it's already there. I also presented as in the State of UK conference 2 months ago. But we have also the R implementation already done and the Python one. And the Python one will be at the basis of the platform, the web platform. So this is what we are going to do. Again, we have now the company, the IT company that is working for us. We pay for that, of course. And in a few months, we are going to have a wonderful platform, web platform, where the policymaker can access and can introduce the data and can provide scenario analysis, which is not scenario by just a simulation with fanciful parameters. No, it's data-driven. It's exactly what data say. So it's really interesting and fantastic for me to see what's going on. I get to the conclusions, and the conclusion is exactly what I said. So I do not have to add on other stuff because I think you are quite tired and it's quite late. So thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Giovanni. Stay with me. May I call also the other presenter, Eva, Rocco, Andrea, Giulia, just to sit here. And now it's time to go to the discussion. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having accepted our invitation this afternoon. Just to say comments or considerations or questions about these 3 demos. We start with Professor Venera Tomaselli, just a small presentation. Okay, just a moment. Okay. Yes. Associate Professor in Social Statistics, Department of Economics and Business, University of Catania, and member, as I said, of our Strategic Management Committee. Thank you so much, Venera. The floor is yours.
Yes, okay. Thank you for the invitation. And I am very happy to attend this seminar because the demo are very, very interesting for the researcher and for the other subject. And I have only some question. Very interesting, the PoolPo app. I am very interesting because I am a member of the Vriens project, and my question is how the PoolPo app can be useful for the Amelia platform that do you know, I think, of the Vriens project. And what is the relationship between the Amelia platform and your app? And what can you think about the connection between the data in Amelia platform and the survey, the national survey that our project is carry out? How PoolPo app can be useful for the survey? This is my question for you.
Thank you. So thanks for the question, and also thanks for the interest in the platform. Yes. So the link between also the Amelia platform and the FOSS need to be discussed, something that I cannot, of course, so I think that there are already connections between the 2 projects. I know that there were meetings, and so the idea, I think, is that of trying to collaborate also between the 2 platforms. That will be the FOSSR platform and the Amelia platform. But in terms of a connection between PoolPo and FOSSR, this is what I can say, because for FOSSR, for PoolPo and the Amelia platform, I think is more Maria Bigoni that will take care of that part. the idea at the very beginning will be to have, at least in the marketplace, of course, PoolPo, and then also try to integrate some of the data of the PoolPo platform with the FOSSR platform. That would be fantastic. And maybe not at the very beginning, but in a second stage, the idea is that of integrating the data.
Oh, yes.
And maybe at the beginning, just average data, maybe the data from the experiments that are collected can also be shared in the FOSS platform. We need to carefully discuss what are the links, and in terms of service, PoolPo is a platform that can be used also to administer surveys, not just experiment, but also surveys. And so that's the idea.
Just to quickly add on this, because we are not yet in the stage that we can guarantee the link between these two, but we are preparing for the possibility. So if someone signs up as a participant to PoolPo, they need to identify themselves, which means that we have their, so as on the admin side, so not on the researcher side, they can't see names and identity, but on the admin side, so for someone to sign up, their identity needs to be verified. And given that we have this, we are preparing, and this is also what we're already preparing in the data privacy statements, the possibility for this data to be linked with the registry data, the Italian registry data. And so this means that if someone signs up to become part of the PoolPo subject pool, in the consent that it gives, it will already be taken into account this possibility of a future linkage between the two.
Okay, okay. It's a very good perspective, I think. And other question for the other demo? Can I another question?
Yes, Venera, yes.
Only very interesting the agent-based models and the link with the ontogenies. Very interesting. But I think that there is the reality is more complex, and there are many reasons to select a co-authorship can affect the decision. And so my question is, how can we select the co-authorship? Because many factors can affect the decision. Have you a guideline or a tool to guide in this selection?
Rocco?
Yes. So the guideline is a clear theoretical model, a hypothesis we want to test. At the moment, we don't have them because we have to delve into the literature and we have to clarify what mechanism we want first to test. But we can test potentially how we want to, because once we have the data from ontologies, we will initialize the model and we can simply code for the inferences that we want to make and to test. How we develop these inferences that we want to test. This is all, in my view, a theoretical conceptualization understanding. So now we are more in the phase that we want to make sure that the model works. We have now to initialize with all potential data that come as an ontology. We have the data, but we need to translate, but this, I think it will be doable in the next time. And then we have to develop a 3D model which is applied to a specific experience of research.
I see. Very interesting. And for the a question for the first demo about the large language model. My question is, have you a metric to count the unmatched hallucination in this using a platform of large language model?
Not currently implemented in the demo or in the system, but hallucination is for sure a critical aspect of large language model. And I mean, the hybridization of a large language model with knowledge graph is exactly done for these. So if we have a large knowledge base of valid facts that can be used then for checking the validity of the knowledge generated by the language model. This is one of the clear, task that can be done by neurosymbolic AI. That was one of, the goal that we have for ontogenia. So far, we never tested the ability of the platform to check the quality of the output generated by the system, especially in terms of hallucination. But I mean, there are a number of issues that are that arise when we use LLMs. One is that, the other one is the bias. So the training data sets are unknown for most of the large language models that we use. Most of the knowledge that we have from those data sets represent much more certain kind of, countries or communities. So there are underrepresented communities in many data sets that are currently used for training those systems. So bias detection is another issue. So there are a number of issues that we have to face with. Probably during the presentation and the demo, I overlooked those issues, but they are there. There are, a number of state-of-the-art works that focus explicit on these. Yeah. For sure, we have to take care of this. We have 1 year from now to experiment with our system in terms of reliability and trust for avoiding this kind of issue.
Yes, very interesting this perspective. 1 year, okay. And the last one is an observation about policy learning platform. Very interesting, the relationship between machine learning as prediction tools and the causal inference for in statistics is very, very important. And I am waiting for the Andrighetto platform, but my question is, have you can you implement the platform in the SPSS package or no, or only in Stata and R?
No, we didn't have an application in SPSS, unfortunately. Only Stata, R, and Python have already been provided, and Python will be the one that will be used for the web app, unfortunately. But what is the good news is that the web app is exactly thought as something to use like an Excel. You know what I mean? Yes. So the web app will be very simple. You have some windows and you are going to click on the windows and you're going to load your data set. And then by clicking other 2 or 3 options, you're going to get the results that you need. And then there will be probably an option for generate scenarios or something like that. So I think you do not need something like the SPSS because you have the web platform that will replace. Yes, it will be like a GUI, like a graphic user interface some way.
Yes.
Okay, that's the main idea. Yeah.
I see, but in many research field, the SPSS is useful overall in the social science, etc. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Venera. Next discussant is Leonardo Alcaro, Technical Project Manager, Dipartimento per la Trasformazione Digitale, and member of our Stakeholder Advisory Board. Leonardo, the floor is yours.
Good. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you
to be here.
Yeah, I want thanks for this invitation. I listened to the FOSSR service demo, and I work in particular in the health standard stream for the project electronic health record, and For me, there are many contacts with the health domain in this service, FOSSR service, because the definition, for example, of electronic health record is also a set of social health documents created by present and the past clinical events concerning the patient. And one of most important document in health electronic health record is a patient summary, for example, that in this document there is a section about lifestyles. So, for example, PoolPo is very interesting about the lifestyles used in for the patient. For example, smoke use, physical activity, alcoholic drink use, and etc. Another aspect that I see in this service is about the ontologies, because, for example, we use in the health domain, in particular for the pathology report, a code system that is an ontology, SNOMED, and in SNOMED there are many contents, procedure, organism, specimen, but also social context. And when the colleagues speak about the knowledge graph, in SNOMED obviously is present because there are many relationships that collect the concept. I think that we can use probably this FOSSR service, and it's my question for the in the context of health data ecosystem in line with the European health data space. For example, for the secondary use of data in pseudo and anonymized data. This is my consideration. So this is my question for all. What do you think about? Thanks.
Who wants to answer? Andrea, just only one, because we pass after with the next.
Yeah, I start from SNOMED, which is de facto one of the main standards for representing clinical concepts and terms in the medical domain. And for sure, it can be one of the application. And maybe, I mean, I see a lot of touch point with all the demos that we presented this afternoon. So, for instance, knowledge graphs based on SNOMED or some part of SNOMED can be used for supporting, physicians in generating, diagnoses, or either in a collective way. And in this sense, platforms like PoolPo can be beneficial, or in a sort of policy learning way. That was one of the topic presented by one of the demo presented by Giovanni. So for sure, all the ecosystem of standard ontologies that have a social impact, like the one for the healthcare, as SNOMED is maybe the mainstream one, along with mesh terms or ICD-9 and all the other ontologies for clinical terms are relevant in the project. As a matter of fact, we have also other infrastructure that focuses on healthcare. So my perspective, I mean, that are part of the FOSSR larger family of infrastructures. So yeah, this is one direction. We didn't have today any vertical use case on the medical or healthcare domain, but the idea is to provide intuition or the potentiality of the infrastructure in terms of the services that it can provide to the research community. Another key point is that any idea may arise in the next year, and I think that one of the benefits of FOSSR is that its services can support the development and the evolution of other services and applications that are not conceived in the context of the time frame of the project, these 3 years. So it provides a number of facilities for supporting the mid to long-term evolution of the project. I mean, I think we are releasing a platform and a number of services to the community of developers to be independent and in order to provide them with easy development toolkit for additional work.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Leonardo.
Thanks.
Next discussion is Luca Crocioni. I invite him to come with me here in the floor. Luca Crocioni is Delivery Manager Hybrid IT Application Workload, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. This is also our Stakeholder Advisory Board. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, first of all, congratulations. I have a big respect for the work that you have done. And today is the first time that I see the demo. I had only 1 hour to see these results, so I have to be humble. And sorry if I can do some questions, wrong consideration, okay? So I start with a few considerations. First of all, I appreciate the results and the value of what we see today, because we see several things. First of all, publication. Okay, there are some publications, some results. We see something new that want to break silos in Italy. PoolPo solution, for example, I see something very practical. The purpose I see is change the experience of the people, and a great example. I see also the boring machine learning solution, so the traditional solution, great, and also the hype language LLM. So you are working to implement the generative AI solution. So I think, first of all, from an overall perspective, this is a great result because the project try to address different topics. You touch at the beginning a topic, ESG. Okay, so this is very important that we didn't talk today about environment, social and governance. But my first suggestion is next time when the next demo, I feel have to include these topics because it's critical for our country and for the future of our people, for our life. What I write down, yeah, I think you already said before, there are some items that need additional details and discovery. For example, the topics related to the ethics, the privacy, the transparencies. I assume that you're already working on this direction and something that has to be addressed for sure. It's not clear to me how you are going to move the data set. Okay, we have seen that you are using a big data set. Could be great to explore the approach, how you move, how you change, how you justify the change. All the items related to data governance, I think, are relevant for this project. So I have a few questions. So first of all, for example, related to the first project, LLM project, how I see that there are some competency questions that are automatically generated. Is it true? It's correct?
It's correct, yeah.
Yes. How are competence questions automatically generating and how do they influence the creation of ontology? Because I assume that maybe...
Yeah, I start from the last point. how they influence the generation of the ontology, and the answer is, let's say, straightforward, deeply. So they are the only set of instruction that we provide to the LLM for the generation of the ontology, or not the only, but the main. And they are treated as requirements that the knowledge graph that is going to be generated, so the ontology, has to address. They serve as a sort of contract for generating the ontology. So the ontology must cope with the questions, and they are functional requirements in a proper sense from the engineering perspective. Then how they are generated? Again, for generating the competency question, we use an LLM. So we provide as input a data set with few metadata. The main metadata is the header. So the columns name, the column names, if available, are extremely meaningful. Plus additional data and metadata that can be provided by the user. So in the demo, I just went very, very quick. But in the real application, you can prompt with the LLM that can ask you to provide more details about the data that you want to deal with for generating the competency questions. So both competency questions and the final ontology are generated by interacting, by prompting with an LLM. The generation, of course, is almost never so straight as I showed in the demonstration. You might be asked to refine your input by providing more details, or you can ask the system to refine the output just because you are not confident with the output, both in terms of the competency questions, the ontology, but in general, the kind of prompting that we are setting up for ontogenia is based on an evolution of chain of thought, which is one of the techniques for prompting with LLM, which is called metacognitive prompting, that applies metacognition as a theory to the way in which humans interact with an AI system. And these kind of techniques can be generalized and applied to any kind of task that we want to apply in the context of large language model, so generative tasks.
Yeah, just a quick information. What's the size of the data for the demo?
Oh, the demo was as you can, yeah, few lines. It was, but I mean, we tested all the demonstration on a larger site, a larger data set. I don't remember the number of. It is in terms of rows, I think thousands of rows, much more. So for the demonstration today, they were something like 15. As a matter of fact, the kind of interaction was very, very quick, because if you interact with larger data sets, the kind of action is that the systems start thinking, not in the proper sense, but working, and you have a reference to a repository, to a URL that you can query for getting the result after the system has finished.
Yeah, I have another question. How do you ensure that the generated knowledge graph are complete and accurate? There are some metrics that are using, or this is something that is in the roadmap in the future?
No, there are some metrics.
Okay.
There are metrics both from the structural perspective. So once you generate, in our case, a knowledge graph. So for this specific case, once you have a knowledge graph, there are specific metrics for assessing the quality of the graph in terms of structural property. Are they enough for stating that the kind of knowledge graph you are generating is compliant and accurate? The answer is no. They provide you an indicator about the quality. Then there are, user-based study that can be carried out by using experts in the specific task. So for instance, for knowledge graph generation, we carried out an experiment with knowledge engineers. They were students of a course of knowledge engineering at the University of Bologna. And the results were interesting because, I mean, the system was able to provide qualitative outputs as those provided by humans, at least for the case of ontology modeling. Then this can be extended to other tasks. It is, you know, I mean, we have to setting up the experiment for a broader evaluation of ontogenia. We just had this experiment for a vertical application that I mean, we are confident with, and the results are encouraging.
Thank you very much. I have another question for, okay, for example, for the agent-based modeling in ontology. So this is a very powerful solution. So I can see potential opportunities and value to solve very, very complex problem. For example, in the healthcare domain, in the research of new material, so in the chemistry. So I see a lot. I've seen that you executed this demo for a specific scenario. Okay. So how does the integration of agent-based modeling and ontologies improve the accuracy of simulation?
I will say improve the accuracy in terms of the knowledge from which the mechanisms of emergence of a simulation are extracted. So, and what we can do with this type of integration, in my view, is we do have initialization, which is fixed. I mean, it's stable. It comes from knowledge that we have proven that we have from the ontology, and we can apply different hypotheses and different inference that we can make, so that we can test the different scenarios and see what could be the common average path that emerge or not. So in this case, it's the accuracy of initialization and the tools, the knowledge, the simulation is built on, regardless of what theoretical implication can be done, because even if we would have different desires, for instance, in the context I show it, it will need to be applied to that specific scenario. That in this case was the academic, in the future can be the academic landscape, but can be also other domains, so provided we have the data, of course.
So do you see potential for also other domains like
I think so.
Okay.
I think the tool as we are developing is flexible in these terms. We need the data. The data needs to be available and transfer it into the ontologies.
For another point related, how are the infrastructural data set? I see that you are using institutional data set from shares and so. How has been selected to ensure consistency, accuracy in the analysis?
Is this for him?
Yeah, I think for.
Yeah, analysis what exactly? What
of the analysis, for example, you select a specific data set in this case. Okay. How do you select the specific data set to provide a consistent results, for example? Because I see we start with a basic data set, then there is a cleaning at the beginning. Yep. Okay. So I assume this is a very complex process. Okay. So I'm wondering if there is a selection at the beginning, or you can access any data set available in the source. Well, so there are any criteria?
Well, first of all, the data have to be fair. So this means that there is sort of, I mean, a guarantee about the quality of the data.
Yeah.
If you refer to the problem, let's say, of missing values, all this stuff, yes, I mean, we do not have one single protocol for that. In that, the different infrastructures and the data set have been built according to specific rules. To be honest, I do not know about everything about all data sets. So, but what is important is to adhere with the FAIR principles. And yes, some quality checks, of course, are always needed because no one can completely control a so huge number of different data sets. So possibly this is something that sometimes may be also discovered by running and working with the data as well. But we do not have any selection process based on that, no.
Yeah, because I was imagining a pipeline, because in the future, this will be something in real time, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. So I imagine a data governance solution, a sort of pipeline that take the source data, okay, available from this, and analyze and perform some initialization activity, transformation initiative before to fill up the real data set. I assume that
there will be some, I mean, data management, data cleaning, of course, all this stuff. This may generate some selection, of course. For example, if for some individuals you don't have information for some reason, you can impute data, but sometimes imputation is not trustable enough for going on. I mean, it depends on the specific survey, so it's not as simple to reply with a general reply to this question, because it's very well posed, but it's really difficult to have just a one-fit-all response on this.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the key points to scale up the solution, because right now we are still in the demo phase. It's great.
Of course, yes, you're right.
But when scale up, maybe
when you're going to scale up, maybe other problems can come up. Yes,
especially related.
So I think that when we will have all this platform ready, we have to do some stress tests in order to see what's going on when we use strange data or data coming from different areas. Of course, this is something that we have to take into account. Yes, this point is very...
Thank you very much. I have the last question, last curiosity related, last question, just for PoolPo, because...
yes.
No, yeah, because a lot of stuff. So really interesting. So I see that PoolPo want to break the silos, okay? And there are already a lot of agencies, already registered. So how other laboratories that right now are not in the system, what kind of process are you going to address for the onboarding activity, or will be closed this?
No, so at the moment it's not live yet. So the subjects that are now in the subject pool, we created them for the purpose of doing a demo and testing of the platform. The plan is so this PoolPo platform will go live in the first beta version of the platform in January. And in January, what we will do is initially work with only the people that are already registered for the laboratory of Bologna University. Okay. So to all of those people that are now registered for that lab, they will be invited to register instead to PoolPo. So this way we can transfer all the data to PoolPo. So they really have to register from scratch so that they give consent to the PoolPo platform. Once we've done the tests with those, so we will run studies and see how it works. We will expand to include other labs from other universities. So again, asking those people that are already registered for that specific lab of that specific university to register for PoolPo. And then again, doing a test phase. And once all of that goes well, the final stage will be to go online nationwide with recruitment campaigns through social media, through universities, through any means possible to.
So there is a certification process.
Yes.
So congratulations for your job. Good, well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Luca, and thank you to the speakers. I don't know if there are other people who has some questions. Giulia, Ecchia? Just there are other people who are okay. Lorenzo? Can we collect all the question all together so the people can answer at the end? Okay, Giulia. It's not working?
Red one. Well, obviously, the red one from Bologna. So I'm from the University of Bologna, and I'm talking here like a user, because Maria Bigoni talked about it. So I congratulate you and her for the work. I have just two questions from an economics perspective, because we use experiment Actually, we did the Bologna lab is an offspring of a Forlì lab, where we founded that. Anyway, so two questions. The first one is self-selection, meaning currently in labs like BLESS, the Bologna one, and so on, we have students, only students. And so your goal is to have not only students, but how can you make that working? So that's the first question. The second one is endogeneity. You want to select the population for running an experiment, but there is a risk of endogeneity. And this, let me say, from an economics perspective, who is not an expert in survey, is the advantage of surveys, who are representative of the population. Thank you.
So thank you for your presentation. My question is for Giulia Andrighetto and Eva Vriens, and is closely related to the previous question, but maybe a bit more general. So I was curious about how the platform ensured, and if it does it automatically, if it ensures randomization, so it is closely related, and if you thought about giving the researcher an ex-ante likelihood of achieving randomization by evaluating more or less the rate of answers from the respondents, the pool of respondents you have. So maybe before starting paying the respondents, the researcher can know if at the end randomization will be achieved. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for all the presentations.
And then the last one
of this afternoon that were really interesting. And I have just a question for Giovanni. And because you highlighted how in your project you have a data-driven approach. But what I was wondering is that theory is not really out of the picture, because you have also, all the theory it is in the data that you put in the thing, because it depends how you define the dependent variable, which independent variable you select, control variable you select, also the time lagging between the treatment and the measurement. And so I was wondering if this is something that perhaps should be more emphasized, that you have still this theoretical concern in the issue. Thanks.
Thank you, Ferruccio. The last question. Sorry, just first your name and organization, please.
Chiara Poglio, University of Ferrara.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful demos. I have to reduce my questions, just one question to Giovanni. I was wondering whether in the PLP or in general in future evolution of the platform, you also entail the possibility of non-linearity of the results, meaning that in particular for policy programs which are iterated, you might have different results according to whether people are treated once or twice, or then are treated once again. I mean, you might have different marginal effects or others. So I think this is fairly important for, in general, for policy implementation.
Thank you so much. Okay, we start with the... Oh?
Excuse me, can I read a question from the online
Yes, Rita.
It's from this morning, but we have had
Okay.
no time before. I am retired from public administration. I live in Catania. In relation to the IOPP, how the representative data will be acquired and how it is planned to update the same, ensuring reliability and adequate standards, in particular for the updates. Events that may have changed the condition of some territories will be taken into account, such as particular economic productive crisis, unpredictable natural disaster, increased aggression against the economy by organized crime. Thank you.
Very long question.
Very
Maybe Loredana can answer by email to the person, just to... Okay. Okay. The microphone, just Rita. Rita, just sorry. Okay. Thank you, Simona, for this kind of transport.